Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about Pythagoras theorem in this video. Before I proceed, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you've not clicked the notification bell, I don't know what you're waiting for. All right, so let's get cracking. So when we talk about Pythagoras theorem, it refers to the relationship between the three sides of a right angle triangle. So that means if you have a right angle triangle like this, so the Pythagoras theorem is going to tell us the relationship with the three sides of this right angle triangle. So you can see in this example, all right, this part here is 90 degrees, all right, this is 90 degrees. So that's why it's called the right angle triangle, where at least one angle of the three angles is 90 degrees. Now, what I want you to keep in mind is that the most important side is the side that is just directly opposite it. So in this case, we're going to call this side C, all right? Now, this side C, all right, is what we call the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is the longest side of this triangle. So the other sides, you can call this A and B. It's going to be the opposite and adjacent. I'm going to talk about that later. But in Pythagoras theorem, the most important one is the hypotenuse, all right? And there's a relationship between these three sides, and I'm going to write it down because I know some of the students here do take notes. So now let me write it down. So the Pythagoras theorem. The Pythagoras theorem explains the relationship okay? Explain the relationship between the three sides. So the three sides. So in this example, we're talking about sides A, B, and C, okay? Of a right angle triangle. Okay? Between the three sides of a right angle triangle. So, like I said, the most important side you need to keep in mind is the hypotenuse, all right? Which is the longest side. So, this side, the hypotenuse, just to keep it, is that it's always the longest side of the right angle triangle. So, it's the longest side. So, this is the most important thing you need to know. One is the longest side, and number two is directly opposite the right angle, all right? So the longest side and is directly opposite the right angle. Okay, so these are the two things that I want you to keep in mind, all right? So the longest side and is directly opposite the right angle. All right, good. So what is the relationship? What does this actually state? Now, it states that, I'm going to write it here, it states that the square of the longest side, which is the hypotenuse, all right, is equal to the sum of the what? Two other sides. So the Pythagoras theorem states that the Pythagoras theorem states that the square of the longest side so in this case, remember I told you the longest side is C, so the side that is directly opposite the right angle. All right. So the square of the longest size of the right angle of a right angle triangle the right angle triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. All right, so that is that. So if we go back to this triangle, so what we are saying is that if you look at this, so this is the hypotenuse, the C. So what we are saying is that the square of C is equal to the sum of the square of the other two sides. So that means C squared is going to be equal to A squared plus B squared. And this is the what? Pythagoras what? Theorem. Okay, so based on this now, we can manipulate and get the other values. So where where C is equal to the hypotenuse, we already know that already. Then A and B are the other two sides. So at this stage, it does not matter which is the adjacent or hypotenuse when you are applying Pythagoras theorem. But when we start talking about the trig ratios and stuff like that, it is very important which is the adjacent or the opposite. But in Pythagoras, it does not really matter. So now, from this now, I can now derive other formula. So if I know that C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Now I can look for A by taking C to the other side, okay? So I can now also say that A squared will be equal to, if I take B squared to the other side, will be C squared minus what? B squared. And also, I can also find B squared as well. So B squared, I will take A squared to the other side. It's going to become C squared minus what? A squared. And also another thing as well is that I can also move this forward a bit by I can look for C. So that means C is going to be equal to um, let me do it this way so that everybody will be on the same page. So that means to look for C, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Okay. So this will cancel that. So that means you're going to have that the C is going to be equal to square root of A squared plus B squared. Are you seeing it? So similarly, I can find A as well. So A is going to be equal to square root of C squared minus B squared. And also, taking the square root of both sides, I can find B. B is going to be equal to square root of C squared minus A squared. All right, so that is that. So that is the Pythagoras theorem. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to state the three rules or the three steps on how to solve this. So let's start. So the three steps. So how do you solve questions involving Pythagoras theorem? Number one, you have to first identify the A, B, C. So you have to identify the A, B, and C. So remember the C is the hypotenuse. So this is the most important one to keep in mind. So you need to make sure you know the C, okay? So, and then after you've identified this, you have to identify the A, B, and C. Number two is that you then have to then substitute into the appropriate formula. Okay? So you then substitute into the appropriate formula. So depending what you're looking for. So if, for instance, you're looking for the C, all right? So if you're looking for the C, so you're going to use the c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So therefore, c is going to be equal to the square root of what? A squared plus b squared. Now, if you're looking for b, so b squared is going to become c squared minus a squared. So therefore, we can now say that the b is going to be equal to square root of what? C squared minus a squared. If you're looking for the a, so a squared is going to be equal to c squared minus b squared. So therefore, we can now say a is going to be equal to the square root of what? C squared minus b squared. Then after you're done with that, number 3, we then what? We then simplify. Okay? So you identify the A, B, C, all right? Then after that, you substitute into the appropriate formula. Then you would simplify. So what I'm going to do, let's pick some questions now and begin to solve. All right, so let's pick an example. The example I have here, so we're given a particular triangle, okay? And we're told to find one side. So you say number 1, let's say find x, all right, in the triangle below. So find x in the triangle below. So we have this, that, and that. We'll give it this triangle. And we're told that this part here is 2 centimeter. And I was told that this is 8 centimeter, and we're meant to find x. All right. So that means we're going to apply Pythagoras theorem here. So we have step 1. Step 1, we're told to identify A, B, and what? C. So we're going to identify A, B, and C. And in this case, let's look at this. So remember, I told you the most important thing here to identify is the C, which is the hypotenuse. Then you can swap this for any of them, and that will be fine. So this will be 2, and this will be 8 centimeter each. All right. So we're looking for the value. So we're going to use the next part was that we need to use the appropriate formula to solve this. So let's start with step 2. The appropriate formula, because we're looking for C, so that means we're using the C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. And we know that C will be equal to the square root of A squared plus B squared. And the square root of A squared plus B squared, which will be equal to the square root of the A is going to give us 2 squared plus 8 squared. Now, 2 squared plus 8 squared, that will give us square root of what? This 64 plus 4, and that will give us what? 68. And step 3, we're now told that we need to what? Simplify. So step 3, we can break down square root of 68, and we can make it to be equal to 2 root what? 17 centimeter. Okay. And if you're asked to leave it in decimal, this is going to become 8.25 centimeter. Okay. And that will be the answer for that. So that means in this case here, the x is to be equal to what? Either you say 2 root 17, or if you prefer, you can write it as 8.25. Okay, so that was that. Let's pick some example here. I don't know which one you prefer. Let me just throw in one example. Let's see number 2. They said find the value of x in the triangle below. They said find the value of x in the triangle below. So we have this. Have that. Then we have that. All right, so let's go. We have in the triangle, we're told here is 8 centimeter. We're told this is 5 centimeter, and this is what we're looking for, X centimeter. So now you can see in this case as well, similarly, we have the values for each of them, but in this case, the hypotenuse was given to us, all right? So we're looking for one of the other sides. So let's, to make it easier, let's call this side, let's say this side is the A, while this side is the what? B, and definitely remember I told you the side that is just directly opposite the right angle is always the what? The C, all right? So now let's apply this then to solve. So step one, we were told to first identify the A, B, and C. So we know the C, which is the most important one to identify. Then we agree that the A is X and the B is gonna be what? 5 centimeter. So now let's step two, we're looking for A. So that means we're gonna apply the appropriate formula for A. So we know that A squared is equal to C squared minus B squared. So therefore we can now say A, all right, will be equal to the square root of what? C squared minus B squared, all right? So now we're gonna substitute that as well to get the final answer. So we'll have A is going to be equal to the square root. The C is going to be 8 squared minus 5 what? Squared. And also 8 squared minus 5 squared. And that will give you, I think, approximately square root of 64 minus 25. That will give us around 39. All right. So step three, we have that. So step three now, we have square root of 39. We can break this down, or you can leave it as square root of 39, or you can say it is 6.24 centimeter. So that means the value of X here that we had here is equal to what? Square root of what? 39. All right? And that is that for that. Let me pick one more example just for this. Number three, let's assume we're told that we're given a triangle below and want to determine if it's a right angle triangle. So basically it's written like this. It's a triangle below a right angle triangle. There's a triangle below a right angle triangle. So we have this, we have that, and we have this. So we have 8 centimeter, we have 10 centimeter, and we also have 6 centimeter. All right. So we're now told, is this a right angle triangle? So as usual, we know we need to find the C, which is the most important one, that is directly opposite to the right angle. And this will be equal to C. So you can make any of this. You can make this your B, and you can make this your A. It does not really matter which is the A or B, but the most important one that you need to get correctly is the C. So we've done that now. So let's solve now. So we know step one, we need to identify the A, B, C. We've done that already. So step one, we know the C, which is the most important one, is 10 centimeter. All right, and A or the B is 8 centimeter, and the A is what? 6 centimeter. All right, so because it's a right angle triangle, we can apply Pythagoras theorem here. So that means if this is correct, if it's a right angle triangle, if I square the C, it's gonna give me the same thing when I square the A squared plus what? B squared. Because if they are actually if the relationship between the three sides is in a right angle triangle, when I square the longest side, it's going to be equal to the sum of when I square the other side. So let's go. So C here was what? 10 squared. And this will give us A is what? 6 squared plus what? 8 squared. And this will give me 6 squared is same thing as 36 plus A squared is 64. And this 10 squared is 100. Okay, but if you look at it closely, when I add 64 plus 36, that will give me what? 100, and which is exactly the same thing as C squared. So therefore, the left-hand side is equal to the what? The right-hand what? Side. So because the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side, so then the triangle is a right angle what? Triangle. So the triangle is a right angle triangle. Okay, and that will be that for that. All right, so that will be that'll bring me to the end of this video session for Pythagoras theorem. So the next video, I'm going to go straight into, I'm going to talk about the trig ratios. I'm going to talk about how to find the sine, the cosine, and tangent of an angle. So it's very important to subscribe and click the notification bell so that when I post the next video, you'll be the first person to know. All right, see you soon. We'll talk about this in the next video.